Welcome. It's Lumpy with Fool's Paradise Fishing. Remember, it's called fishing and not catching for a reason. Sadly, more death by PowerPoint. Getting to Alaska. But it's the landing that's a problem. Not an ad, but not all airlines are created equal. Attention to brief. As always, objectives. Terminal objective. Intro to getting to Alaska. Enabling objectives. Info about planes, info about trains and boats, info about automobiles, trains, planes, and automobiles, and some additional tips. More to come. First and foremost, flying to Alaska. We'll do commercially. Sincomb's older sister lives in Juneau. A while back, Delta Airlines got in a fare war with Alaska Airlines, and as like everyone else, they lost. Everyone has, everyone does. Because as my sister-in-law said, Delta loves to fly, but it's the landing that's a problem. Yeah, it's rough up there. Fog, snow, driving rain, ice, such, whatever. Outside of summer, it's dicey. Alaskans have a love-hate relationship with Alaska Airlines, but they tend to be the only reliable airline. They get in when other people don't. I mean, one time I went up there with my wife, is about fall of 90, went into Ketchikan. Holy cow. What is it? It's coming to me. Oh, we landed in Ketchikan. The flight attendant, and it had been snowing for 4 days. Flight attendant said, don't leave your seat, because if someone gets into it, I'm not kicking them out, because there's a crowd waiting to get out of Ketchikan. It's been 4 days. So we didn't leave our seat, and we made it to Juneau. That's how it works up there. Heading up there, Anchorage is the main entry into Alaska. One-stop shopping as you branch out for your Alaska adventure. If you haven't booked a flight yet, you're kind of late. Flights for summer travel season back up fast. You know when a fishing or hunting guide, hotel, lodge, or an Airbnb is good? Because they're already booking for 2026. It's cheaper to rent a car off airport. I'd recommend take a taxi cab. Rental places from Ted Stevens International aren't that far. The bus is $5 all day if you got time. So I've thrown in the info for the Joint Base Lewis McChord terminal, because if you get up there, they have a number of flights, especially during the summer. Lots of exercises going on up there. And the Air Force knows how to land in Alaska too. But when traveling GovAir, you know how it works. Needs a service. So since I moved back and forth between Alaska and the Pacific Northwest, I use SpaceA as much as I can. But I book a flight on Alaska, and then if I can get a SpaceA flight, I cancel it. And for me, I'm lucky. I got family at both spots, so I get rides. Trains and boats. You can take the Alaska Marine Highway or the ferry to Alaska. It leaves out of Anacortes and then heads north. Stops at all the places. Very scenic. My sister-in-law does it all the time. But it too can be expensive. They charge by the foot on your vehicle, and then you pay for your passage. And then there's different levels, because you can sleep out on the deck in your tent, or you can have a nice stateroom to yourself with a bathroom. It's what many do, and then bring your own food. It's what many people do. Lately, the ferry system can be sketchy. State of Alaska hasn't been taking too good a care of the fleet very well. So that too, if you haven't booked passage on their website, you're late for the summer of 2024. I'll drop a link below. And to add a bonus, I'm going to show a video, because I rode the ferry from Haines to Juneau, dropping off a van for the sister-in-law. If you take a cruise to Seward, you can take the Alaska Railroad from Seward to Anchorage, or you can stay right in Seward and go over to the Seward Military Resort. There are rental car agencies found locally in Seward. You can take the train on up to Anchorage. The Alaska Railroad's pretty nice, very scenic. Hit the Costco, buy a milepost. They have a pallet of them usually. And then drive around, returning to Seward to fish, and or catch a flight home, or wherever you're going. Plus, the portion of the train ride is supposed to be the second most scenic, of course, after Denali, and the possibilities are endless. I've talked to people who flew up, rented a camper van, roamed around Alaska, went to Seward, did some fishing, dropped off the van, not really sure who, and then hopped on a cruise to Vancouver, Seattle, and then flew home from there. If you're a veteran, check out the Armed Forces Vacation Club. They have discounted Alaska cruise, especially on the shoulder seasons, May, August, September. I'll drop a link below. I've never been on the train or done a pleasure cruise, so can't comment too much on it. I've done numerous long cruises with 5,000 of my best friends. Combat cruise, yes. Alaska cruise, not yet. Maybe in the future. All right, driving the Alcan, or the Alaska Canada Highway, Part 1. It's a bucket list item for many. I've done it 6 times. Sincombe's sister, or Sincombe's older sister in Juneau, used to do it every other year due to family reunions in the Pacific Northwest. Buy a milepost book or Bell's travel guide. Fuel, lodging, food, all expensive because they know they are it. They got you. Canadian Customs, I'll drop a link for them. If you bring a camper and go up there, anticipate getting stopped to have a look. I see it all the time. Lots of traffic around Vancouver BC, clears out north of the Fraser River. If you're into Costco, there's one right across the border at Abbotsford. It is not as bad as it used to be, but the Whitehorse, Yukon Territories to Tok, Alaska, the frost heaves make it bouncy. There's some pretty big potholes. The British Columbia roads are way better than the Yukon Territory roads. If you go in spring, watch out for all the new baby animals. They come out of the hills for a bit. From Watson Lake to Whitehorse, it's 319 miles of national parks, maybe 1 or 2 gas stations, and not cheap. So fill up at Watson Lake, bring a sign to post with all the other signs. At this point, you lose SiriusXM for the rest of the trip. Go to the Whitehorse Walmart and Canadian Tire Complex for anything you need. Canadian Tire is truly Canada. You can get all the hockey stuff you need. Pretty good cafe, burnt toast in Whitehorse. It's a great breakfast stop. Keep an eye on washout roads in the spring and forest fires anytime in summer. And when you're around Fort St. John, lots of oil trucks. It's booming up there. Went through there 2.5 years ago, nothing. Went through there last year, oil trucks everywhere. And they wipe out your windshields, so watch out. All right, driving the Alcan, Part 2. After you drive the length of the Canadian Rockies, you finally get to Alaska, but you still have 400 miles to Anchorage, 500 miles plus to Seward. Tok is the first stop into Alaska after 100 miles of moose and bear country, so be careful. Alaska averages 235 moose killed per year by cars. No one needs an animal the size of a horse in their lap. They are tall, so they tend to go through the windshield. Watch out for the young ones, they're dumb. You want to stop, if you're hauling a camper, Tok is your first stop. It's got a huge Ace Hardware, nicest store in town. It's owned by Three Bears, which is a uniquely interesting Alaska company, kind of grocery store, hardware store chain, all wrapped into one with gas stations. And so they have everything that your camper RV will need. Last couple of years, the Alaska Department of Transportation has been improving the road from Tok to Glen Ellen, or i.e. the Glen Highway. Like LA, all the highways have names. The Parks Highway, of course, to Denali National Park. Seward Highway, obviously to Seward. And the Sterling Highway throws people off as it's named after the town of Sterling before they built the road from Sterling to Kenai and then Homer, because back then, way back when, those two towns with Seldovia had routine shipping and ferry boats coming into their town weekly. They didn't have roads to them. Everything was going back and forth on the water. And that's how they got back and forth to Anchorage at the time. Now, the entire trip takes about 5 days if you're driving 12 hours a day. If you really want to get there, it's 4 days and 16 hours. If you want to take your time, it says however long you want. As you can see, most people fly as a logistical issues and a solitude to get them up there. And I know people have broken down on the Alcan, which can be an ordeal. Alaska, where everything is beautiful and it's trying to kill you. Hey, I'm Lumpy, Fool's Paradise Fishing. That was more Death by PowerPoint, getting to Alaska. Totally an introduction. Check out the links below. The big takeaway from this is that if you're planning now, you're planning late. So you might want to jump on it or start looking at 2026. If you got any questions, drop them below. I'll probably answer them, totally dependent on if the fish are running. Again, Fool's Paradise Fishing. This is Lumpy. If you like what we're doing here, subscribe, like the video, and we'll get you more content. Thanks.